All right, here we go. Forming functions from verbal descriptions. And kind of what we're going to focus on here in this first part is rewriting your functions in terms of one variable. So in the last lesson, we talked about defining, I believe it was perimeter, in terms of length and width. And going to kind of do something similar, but try to break it down to not two variables, now just one. So step one, write a function or a relationship, depending on the problem, of as many variables as necessary to completely describe the relationship. That's what we learned in that last lesson. And then step two, determine any relationships between the variable used in step one. Substitute step three, substitute any and all relationships from step two into function one, into step one, until it is a relationship between just two quantities. And so what that's saying there is that we're going to keep on substituting any information we can in until we can reduce the number of variables on down. We want a relationship between just two quantities. So for example, we're going to have an open top box. We're going to end up with volume in terms of just width. So we've got two quantities, volume being one and width being the second. All right, and so step four, write an equation from step three. Step five, solve the equation from step four. And then six, answer the question in the specified units. So an open top box with a square base, and that's probably going to be important information there. It's not just a base, but it's a square base. So here's our box. And open topped. Square base is to be constructed from sheet metal in such a way that the completed box is made of 2 squared meters of sheet metal. Express the volume of the box as a function of the base width. So first off, we need to figure out what's the volume. Well, the volume of this is going to be equal to the area of the base times the height. I'm going to make sure that remember that it's a square base. So what if it was length times width, but it's not a rectangle, it's a square. So we can get rid of length and in its place substitute W, width. And it does have a height of h. So it's substituting our first variable in. Instead of the area of the base, we're going to have the width squared. So volume is equal to the width squared times height. Now the other piece of information that we have here is that the surface area is going to be equal to the width squared. One second. All right, sorry for the interruption there. We were talking about the surface area. So surface area is going to be that area of the base down below. And remember, there's no top, so we're not multiplying it by 2. Typically, if you're figuring out the entire surface area, we would include the top, but there's just the base, so the width squared plus, now we've got 4 sides looking like this part here, and there's 4 of them around, so we got 4 times the width times the height. That's going to be the surface area of one of those 4 sides, and we're going to have 4 of them wrapped around. So 4 times the width times the height. Now, another piece of information we know and that we're going to need to use is that 2 is equal to, so that's the sheet metal that we have. 2 is what that surface area is. So if we substitute 2 in for W squared plus 4 times WH, we now have some more information that we can use to kind of eliminate some of these variables. And essentially what we're going to do right here is we're going to solve for H and then plug that H in for H back in the volume, and then we'll be all set. So let's go through that process. We've got 2 equals W squared plus 4H. Let's go ahead and subtract W squared from each side. So we have 2 minus W squared equals 4 WH. And now we'll divide everything by 4W. That will leave us just with H. So divide everything by 4W. And we have H is equal to 2 minus W squared divided by 4W. 4W. Sorry, it's kind of, let's neaten that up a little bit. Divided by 4W. And now we have H, and we'll substitute it in for H back up here. So let's rewrite volume as a function of w is equal to w squared, we already have that part right here, times h. But instead of h, we are going to substitute in 2 minus w squared divided by 4w. Now let's multiply this out and clean it on up. That's going to be equal to 2w squared, just multiplying out the w squared, minus w to the fourth divided by 4w. And then lastly, we can rewrite this as volume in terms of w is equal to 1/2 w. 2 divided by 4 is 1/2, and w squared divided by w is w, minus 1/4. So minus and then 1w divided by 4, or sorry, 1 divided by 4. So 1/4 w cubed. And now we've rewritten volume as a function of w. All right, hope that helped, or a function of width. So hope that helped.